Hello, Wayfarers, and welcome to the Beyond Workshop. We are going to be talking about Beyond the Light today. As you see here, Beyond the Light is using the MAD system. You'll see art from a ship right here. This is a light version of the Obsidian Veil. What we're going to be doing is going through the general rules, character creation, as well as a little play test that we'll be doing live. I have physical dice here, but I'll also be doing some rolling here just so you can see how the game is played. I'll be doing a lot of the main random rolling with physical dice. I love physical dice, so I love rolling anything and everything. So yes, this is Beyond the Light. You'll be seeing a lot more of this in the new year, 2024. But let's get to it. First page, you'll see a lot of the influence here is from Mythic Bastionland coming out soon, as well as Lilliputian. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, I took a lot of the inspiration for with how it's designed from those games, as well as uh, well, actually, yeah, just how it's designed is mostly how I created the interpretation for Beyond the Light. So you see here content and philosophy. What is this Zine? A little bit of contextual text related to the game, and then a couple of philosophies of play for Candlekeepers and Wayfarers. But you'll see that the core rules are in this neat little page here. So you don't need to go fumbling about trying to see every single thing for how you play the core rules. So yes, it is using the MAD system. You will always have, you'll see here, your 8 action die, your body, spirit, mind, control, lead, strike, shoot, and defend, which enemies will be pinned against the dread of a zone or an enemy as decided by your Candlekeeper. And what I mean by that, a zone or a creature will always have a difficulty rating as determined by a selected die. So this can be anywhere from a D4 to a D20. So let's say the adventurers are sneaking about. They send a roguish character out to sneak around the base camp of the enemy. Let's say the keeper says, there's a lot of these orcish type of people there, heavily guarded, so the dread is going to be a D10. Now, let's say uh, the character sneaking, let's call him Arden, has a control die of a D6. We'll go over here and we'll do D6. So you roll the 2 and see which is higher. You'll see that the D6, that control, rolled a 1, while the D10 rolled a 5, in which case, unfortunately, Arden did not succeed. Simple as that. You have the action die and the dread die. You roll both of them to see which one's higher. Um, a critical roll will always be rolling the highest of that number. So let's say it rolled a 6. When you critically roll, your die explodes. So that means you get to roll again. So 6, you get to roll again and add that new roll as a bonus. So this new roll is a 9. So we went from 6 plus 3 to a 9. And potentially you can continue to explode as the die continues to roll on the highest number. So let's say it rolls 2 6s. You get to, yeah, let's say it rolls a 6 and then another 6, That's a 12, and you keep rolling, potentially getting extraordinary numbers. Now, critical failures is rolling a 1. So if you roll a 1, didn't think it would happen. If you roll a 1, you gain a condition. That condition is determined by the action die you rolled. You'll see that there are these cluster of attributes, action die, within your action die pool. So you'll have empowered, which are the positive conditions, and the positive conditions are up here, whereas um, the the adverse conditions or the negative conditions are down here. So let's say you roll a strike, or we'll say with that control check that we did previous to sneak around. Arden rolled a 1, he would incur a distracted condition. That means you'll see here for distracted, any roll to his mind or control die are at a step down. So if his die was a d6, a step down would bring down that die to a d4. Conditions last until you use up that condition. And what I mean by that is, let's say you are reduced to a d4 for your, let's say your mind was a d6 and it was moved down to a d4. When you use either your control or your mind die for that that weak or distracted condition, once you roll that step down, you can move up your action die back to their original state. So step down conditions last until you use it up. Trauma is a lasting condition. So that means these continue to play a role, a negative role in your or to your action die. Sorry about that. Yeah, they continue to decrease your action die by a step. And these last until you are able to well, find a sage at a temple, in which case they will heal you from it. So you'll read here, trauma, lasting condition, when a Wayfarer encounters a trauma event or takes half their stress on a single attack, roll a mind save. Failure grants +1 trauma. And you'll see that there's a trauma check right over here, 1, potentially all the way to 6. So they affect the action die as such: weakened, distracted, shaken, and then vulnerable. So easiest way to remember in terms of how the trauma affects your action die, just read it like this and go to the right. Some adjustments to the dice in case you're new to the tabletop RPG community. There are bonus and penalties, so adding or subtracting bonus roll. So these can be anywhere from +1 to a strike, all the way to a -3 to a defend, depending on the item or the situation that you're in. You'll see also advantage and disadvantage. So that means if you have advantage on something, you roll that same die and you take the highest. And for this case, we got a 6, so we roll that 6 again to get a 10. Then there is advantage or disadvantage with a number. So what this means is, let's say you have advantage D10 to your roll. You take your base roll, let's say it's that control D6, with your advantage D10. So that is advantage with a number. That number is that new die. So you roll both and take the highest. In this case, it's a 6. Then there is step down advantage or disadvantage. So let's say, just because the 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 probability to get something higher when you're asked to roll a lower number can potentially be greater. So let's say you have advantage D4. Now, some of you might ask, a 6 is higher than a 4. But if you recall the exploding die rule, there is a potential to roll higher on your D4. Both rolled a 1, 6. Trying to get a 4 on that. Either way, let's say you rolled a 4 on your D4, continue to roll it as it exploding. Let's say you got a 24 on your D4 and a 12 on your D6. That means you would take the higher roll, which was that D4, as your number. Step down advantage works adversely to that, or it's the antithesis of that. That means you roll both and you take the lowest number. Step up advantage is exactly the opposite of this. So say D6 is your original attribute. Step down would be going one step below, so D6 to D4, while step up is taking one die higher than your original die, so D6 to D8. And then how do combat scenes work? So for initiative, very simplistic, Wayfarers or the PCs will always go first, followed by the enemies. Players will have as many actions as the armor that they wear. We'll see backpack content here in a little bit. Enemies will always have 2 actions. They can move or attack. Actions reset every round, so if you don't use it, then you will have your same amount of actions to do on that new round. During a combat scene, you have 2 action options to attack or move. We'll touch on move here in a little bit, but for attack and damage, to attack, roll your strike or shoot action die against the enemy's dread. So let's say the enemy's dread is a D8, and let's say Arden's attack is a D10 with advantage D4. So he rolls all 3. You'll see that the advantage D4 rolled a 1, so we remove that. That D10, that's his strike, was 1 above the dread die of the enemy, so that enemy took 1 damage. You might say that the stress damage of this game is low. However, do take into effect that your stress is double your defend die, and this is your this is affected by your defend die. So if your defend is increased throughout the game, your stress die also increases. So if you have a D4 in your stress die, your stress is 8. Similar to your the enemies that you encounter, the lowest possible health would be 8, unless stated otherwise during the game. Now, to move, there are 3 spacings in your combat zone. There is nearby, which is the furthest, close, which is 1 step away, and engaged. Engaged is perfect for strike rolls, whereas nearby is perfect for shoot rolls, while close is perfect for spells. And we'll see spells here in a little bit with the scrolls within the gears and inventory page of Beyond the Light. Now, death and stress. Every player starts with 0 stress, and then that ticks upward. When a player rolls their defend, let's say Arden's defend is a D4, and that D8 was the dread. If the dread rolls higher than your defend, you take the difference between the 2 rolls in stress. So 4 minus 2, you take 2 stress. Recovery. Now, after an encounter, you eliminate all conditions. So let's say you had the weakened and shaken condition, but you never used your shaken condition because there was no need for it. That means after the encounter, you lose all conditions. After a long rest, oh, and you gain half your stress rounded down. So let's say you lost, you had 8 stress, um, and you were dealt 5, and you had 3 stress left. That means you gain half your stress. That's rounded down. So that's 5 stress because half your stress rounded down. If you have 3 stress left, double it would be 6, but rounded down. Oh, I guess so. Yeah, that would just be 6. That was a bad. Yeah, gain half your stress rounded down. Long rest, eliminate conditions, and gain all stress back. Trauma recovery. If you are inflicted by trauma, you go seek a sage at a temple to reduce trauma by 1. Sages. To find sages, you can literally talk to anyone within the province, and they'll normally point you towards the direction of a landmark. If you're trying to get specific, then hopefully that they have some information. Now, how does creating a character or a Wayfarer work within Beyond the Light? I have taken the advice of a lot of people who wanted to roll randomly for their character within Beyond the Obsidian Veil. So that's exactly what we did. Now, within the soul array, you'll have one of these 3 options to choose from. The only option that I'll give you. Players choose one, well, not the only option that I'll give you. I have different actions that I'll give you. So players choose one of the 3 options for their soul array, distributing the dice amongst body, spirit, mind, strike, shoot, defend, lead, and control. So you choose 1, 2, 3, or roll a d6 to see which one you roll. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I rolled a 4, landing us on this one. So we can distribute it evenly and randomly as we'd like, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just go down the line. We'll got D8, D6, another D6. Oh, it's all D6 until D4. Got it. And my defend is a D4. And then here are your action die descriptions. Body, you'll roll body whenever there is something that requires your stamina, your power, your strength, agility, and dexterity. For spirit, intuition, charisma, faith, nature, or healing. Mind, intellect, wisdom, innovation, creating things, or imagination. For your action die, anything related to strike, shoot, or defend. Lead, survival, trade, notice, inspire, animal handling. While control would be for stealth, drive checks, sail checks, disarming checks, sleight of hand checks. So there's a lot of creativity and uniqueness in how to interpret these. So work with your Candlekeeper when you wish to roll for something. So if your Candlekeeper asks for something, but you're, for instance, trying to do something a little more controlled, let them know to have that agency with your character and what you're trying to do. So stress will always be twice your defend die. Our defend die is a D4. I just realized I did that, so I'm going to eliminate that extra D. There we go. And our stress is double that, so 8. I wrote 0 because that's the amount of stress that we have currently. Our adventure die. Now, your adventure die is essentially your luck die. These can also determine a bonus to the items that you carry, and we'll see the items here in a bit. But let's say you have a personal flavor that grants you bonus adventure die or bonus AD to your strike die. You would roll your strike die, and this one is a D8 plus your D4 against the dread. Let's say the dread is a D6. So we have 2 plus 3 minus that 2 for the dread die. So 5 minus 2, which is 3 stress. Now, passion. For this one, we roll a D8 to determine the positive or negative condition we can grant or impose on self or a target. You'll see that the way that this is written basically states what who this is targeted towards. So positive grants to self, negative imposes to a target. Conditions are temporary, lasting until a Wayfarer makes a check using the affected die. Passions cost 1 action to perform during combat. So, example, if a character is protected, they increase their defend by a step. For us, we would increase the, let's say we were protected, we would increase our D4 to a D6. Once we use that protected condition, it returns back to a D4. Now, we roll a D8, and actually I'll do this here. Let's roll a D8 to determine which one of our these conditions we are passionate on, and that is 5. So weakened. We can grant the weakened condition, which is which affects the body, strike, or shoot of a target that we see. So we put that down here. Weakened, 1 action, body, strike, shoot at a target. So you'll read that this doesn't have a save for the enemy, and this is usually and this is because a lot of what you'll find with this light version of the game, you don't have a lot of powers or things that you can do. So a lot of the effects that you do are very powerful, only because you only have one of those. Now, personal flavor. Personal flavors are back in Beyond the Light. We go to page 5 here, or page 2, sorry, not page 5, and we roll a D100 to select our personal flavor. Now, I will roll that one on right here. This will be our base one. This will be our other one. So we rolled a 52, and this is our personal flavor. We can slow down time around a target, 1 action on their turn. So slow down time around a target, 1 action on their turn. So that means that they have 1 action on their turn. You'll read here that personal flavors cost 1 action during combat. This lasts 1 scene or 1 round. 1 scene out of combat, 1 round within combat. So if you slow down time around a target, let's say during an out of combat scenario, it would last 1 scene or until you drop your flavor or your spell. And so that is our personal flavor. Now, backpack. This is on page 4. Determine your backpack by rolling your body and defend. This roll determines your weapon, your armor, and a readied item. So weapons grant bonuses to attack rolls, armor grants advantage to a defend, and a number of actions during combat. While items add a bonus adventure die to control, lead, body, spirit, or mind rolls. See page 5 for the full list of contents that belong in a backpack. Wayfarers also carry rations. Put it down here. Rations, rope, sextant, parchment, which take up 1 slot in your backpack. So mapping material. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items. And then we choose our age. Typically, choose youth, unless you want to swing out of the gate super powerful. Your twilight years, 60 to 90, you would step up one domain, body, spirit, mind, as well as gain 3 attributes, while youth is your normal standard array. So let's say our character is, let's say 61. We are in our twilight years. Say we're 61 years old. So we step up 3 attributes: control, lead, strike, shoot, defend, because we can't get twilight without our endeavor. So we'll increase this strike to a D10. Our body will move to a D8. So that was our domain. Our control will move it to a D8. So that's 2. And we'll move this defend to a D6, which brings our stress to 12. So that was 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1 domain. And then extraneous. Currency, you'll see your credits here. Roll 2d6 to determine the amount of credits you carry. Let's roll those 2d6. So that is 6 times 10. So we have 60 credits that we start off with. Now, renown, you gain renown through completing missions. And this is your influence within a province. The later sections of the 72-page PDF covers the different renown, or I guess it's right here. Unknown. Everyone starts here. So we have unknown. To increase to whispered, we complete 1 mission. Renown, 3 missions after whispered. Celebrated, 5 missions after renown. Lord, 1 mission from the seat of power. Hero, avert 5 crises in your realm. This means you become a lord. And then sovereign, you are seated at the seat of power. Now advancements. For every 3 successful rolls, you gain 1 path token. That is the same. You'll see right here, successful rolls to path token tracker. 3 success rolls equals 1 path token, encouraging you during the game to roll a lot. These can be used to upgrade your action or adventure die or roll an additional personal flavor. So let's say we had 15 to use, and we spend that to roll an extra flavor. We would roll that D100 to determine 65, our new personal flavor, bolstered when you spare the life of a hostile animal. This is more situational based. Now, path token leveling. This is mostly for you candle keepers. At the end of a session, you can decide to give 1 path token for a slow leveling or fast leveling, which you grant them 3 path tokens at the end of the session. I think I might have skipped over this, but success and failed rolls always grant you something. If you fail on a roll, you gain teamwork points. This is a pool of points that a faction shares. Teamwork points can boost a roll, spending teamwork to increase a roll equal to the amount spent. So what this means, let's say let's go back to that control sneak check versus the dread. This is brilliant. You'll see that the control failed. Let's say we had 3 teamwork points from several failed rolls previously. And the stealth mission is pivotal to a success, to the mission that you're on. Sorry about that. To the mission that you're on. What this means, you can spend those, I said 3, this is another failed roll, so you would have now 4 teamwork points. You can, if you want, spend 2 of those teamwork points because meet or beat means that you won. 2 of those teamwork points to increase your failed roll. In which case we get a 6. That means we just make it out of that intense situation. And that is, in essence, creating a Wayfarer. We still need to roll our backpack, but before we do that, let's name them. This is another lovely thing that I included, naming a Wayfarer. Wayfarers are citizens of a mundane world, having traversed into the beyond, and therefore have real-world names. Roll d20 on the name table to determine your name, or just make one up. We're going to roll. So we are going to make our Wayfarer a female, and we got to give her a last name. So we got 13, Meena, and 6, Gupta. Meena Gupta. Her friends call her Nina. Say they're close friends from when they were young. Now, background. Before you became a Wayfarer, you had a previous career. Why you left is up to you, but this helped to shape you into who you are today. Roll a d10. You got a 4. So she was a merchant. Sold perfume. And now our character traits. Each Wayfarer is unique. Roll randomly on these tables to describe your Wayfarer. Each table uses a d10. So I will rapid fire roll these down here, but you'll see it goes in order of what you see here. So physique, skin, hair, face, clothing, and down here, virtues, vices, reputation, misfortune. So we roll a d10. Here's my d10. Rolled 5. So she's got chiseled physique. Rolled a 10 on skin, so heavily tattooed. 7 for wavy hair. Face 4. She's quite pale. Clothing 2, bloody. It's rough out there. Virtue 2. Her virtue is justice. Roll that one better. There we go. Another 7 for vice. Justice, but she's lazy. Reputation, she has a very repulsive reputation. Probably the bloody clothes. And finally, misfortune. She was defrauded. That is her misfortune. Now, omens, omen of birth. In the realms beyond, the time of year one is born in determines their personality. Roll d6 or choose your omen. Roll a d6. We got a 6. She was born in the winter. She's cold, harsh, but resilient. Very lovely. Now we choose our backpack. You'll see that the backpack table is designed in this way. Defend is across, body is down. Each has a weapon, a armor, as well as a readied item that you can store in your backpack and take out as you see fit. So our defend is a d6. Our body is a d8. So we'll actually roll this with our with this. Defend, what did I say? Let's defend. Defend was a D6. Let's roll the 2. So our D8, which was our body, rolled a 2, and we got a 5 on our defend. So 2, 5. This is what's within our backpack. So we gain a flail. That means we deal 2 plus 2 to strike. Our armor is balanced, but it's bloody. Bloodied balanced armor. That means we have advantage. D6 to defend. And we have 2 actions during combat, move or strike. We also gain a scroll. So scrolls, and I'll go over this down here. Actually, I'll just hold this open. Scrolls grant a spell that lasts for a scene and will always require a successful mind arcana check to perform. This is 1 action during combat. So if we go back to our content, ready to item, scroll, mind, arcana check, we can see a vision of an object's location. So basically scrying. And that is our Wayfarer. Very quick, very fast. The portion from here on out is just for candle keepers. We'll touch on gear and inventory, and then as well as the professionals before we go into a little quick play. So gear and inventory. So you can find merchants quite literally anywhere, but most readily at settlement holdings. These will have merchants to purchase from. You can only carry 10 items on your person, 2 in their weapon slot. So you'll see a simple and martial weapon uses 1 slot. Melee weapons are weapons that you strike at when you are engaged, whereas ranged are where you need to be nearby. You'll have their type right next to them. So melee is a simple weapon and has and takes up 1 slot in your weapons. Exotic heavy use 2 slots. So you'll see our flail has +2 strike. If we look here, melee martial, it's a martial weapon. That means it takes only 1 slot in our weapons. So we still have 1 more slot available to us in our weapons. Armor always uses up 1 slot. We have balanced. You'll see the cost here also. Simple 40, 80, all the way to 120. Armor, light, gives you 3 actions. Advantage D4 to defend. Balanced, 2 actions, advantage D6 to defend, while heavy is 1 action, AD10, advantage D10 to defend. You'll see their prices right here as well. So if we don't like our balanced one, we can always save up to buy a heavy one or a light one, however we wish. Shields grant +1 to defend, and they would go on your weapon slots, or your ready item, however you wish to distribute that. Items you'll see here: torches last a day, or last a scene. Lanterns last a day. 1 explosive. Deal your adventure die in stress. Smoke bombs, cloud fog, and zone and fog. Pet mounts. They will always use your adventure die to act, and they have 1 action during combat. They also, unfortunately, only have 1 stress. However, there are personal flavors that give you, like an animal companion, that gives you an additional stress to your animal. But typically, those that come in your backpack, such as mounts or like pets, will only have 1 stress. Rations. I'm highly encouraging people never to consider rations. As long as you have rations in your backpack, you're good to go. However, if you don't have rations in your backpack, every single morning, roll your adventure die to take that amount in stress. Now, mapping materials. I should have said this because that's only 3 items. Because this is mapping materials. Mapping materials take up 1 slot. So each of these takes 1 slot in your backpack. So armors take 1 slot. You can have 1 item in readied items, and you can carry 6 items in your backpack for a total of 10 items. 2 in your weapon slot, 1 in your armor slot, 1 in your readied item, and 6 in your backpack. If a Wayfarer is carrying more items than their available inventory slot, they are encumbered. This means that they can only perform 1 action during combat, despite their armor. So if your armor says you have, let's say you have light armor and you can perform 3 actions during combat. If you're carrying more than 10 items, you can only do 1. Thematically, you can't run. And also you are considered weakened. So your body, strike, and shoot are at, your body, strike, and shoot are at disadvantage. You're not weakened. You're encumbered. So that means any roll that you do with these lovely folk are with their normal die disadvantage. So D10, roll another D10, take the lowest. Backpack contents, decide your body and defend rolls on page 4. We already did that. Weapons grant bonuses to attack rolls. Armors grant advantage to defend rolls and determines how many actions you can take during combat. Items will grant you a bonus adventure die to your control, lead, body, spirit, or mind when using that item. Pets and mounts will always use your adventure die to perform actions. They have 1 action during a combat scene on your turn and carry 1 stress. And we already touched on scrolls. Here's also a list of scrolls. You'll stumble upon scrolls throughout your time adventuring, but you can also choose them randomly here. I believe there's 20, so it could just be a simple D20 roll. Roll a 1. That's unfair. Let's do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Veil of silence. Create a zone of silence for stealth or private conversations. Usually, mostly, they're all flavorful, out of combat scenario spells, but some of them, such as the tendrils, Grimoire of Tentacles, you can summon 4 tentacles that act on your turn. They have a dreaded D4 and their own individual stress. And then professionals. Let's say there is something specific that your Wayfarer wants to do, and you can point them to these professionals in order to use them to their advantage. So a priest can reduce -1 trauma or provide guidance on faith. After resting with them, you are protected. The augur, for instance, offers prophetic abilities. They can provide valuable insight on your current mission, and you are focused when acting to advance your mission. Things like that. Now let's go into an actual play. You'll see the naval system here, which I think we'll play a little bit on. Also simplified ruling. So here is the ruling for it on this one page. You have your Wayfarer rolls. Each interact with your die. So for attributes, your ship will always have a defend, a strike, and a shoot roll. Each action is 1. It costs 1 action. Your Wayfarers will always, while on a ship, I'll say it like this. Your ship has as many actions as there are Wayfarers. So if you have 5 Wayfarers, you have 5 actions to do. If you have 4 Wayfarers, you have 4 actions to do. Simple as that. Cannons, you must be close to strike at them, while your crossbows can shoot at them when they are nearby. If you are engaged, you cannot strike or shoot at them. Helm control, this determines the maneuverability within combat zone. It takes one action to move from engaged, close, nearby, or far. So you'll see that there are 4 different zone movements here. Crew lead reflects the crew's ability to work together in combat. So the captain rolls a lead check, granting them a bonus or a minus equal to the difference in the roll versus the dread. So let's say the dread is a d6 versus our lead of a d6. This will be our dread. This will be the lead. Dread beats the lead by 1. So that means we grant a -1 bonus to any action during that round. It's unfortunate. Domains. Materials. This is rolled by the engineer. This is to heal your ship. So let's say your ship has 8 stress, and it's down to a total of 3. You can roll your body to attempt to heal it, removing stress. If you crit, you are protected. If you critically fail, the ship is vulnerable. So let's say Nina here is an engineer. We will roll our body, which is a d8 against that stress. Let's say it's a d6 again. And we failed, unfortunately, so nothing happens because we didn't fail critically. But let's say we attempted to heal it again, and this time we passed, so 5, 3. That means it healed up 2 points. So we are able to heal up our ship by 2. Healing takes 1 action. This requires the ship's advancement and a knowledge required to operate it. So I believe for mind is our navigator. Our navigator can roll this during combat or outside of combat to either bolster or potentially cause a negative condition and shaken the crew. So bolstering it grants us believe for bolstering that is specific to lead and spirit. So it bolsters lead and spirit. So any lead and spirit are at a d8. Well, for this instance, it would be a d8. And then for spirit, crew's motivation and unity, rolling this a success equals the focus condition, while a failure equals the distracted condition. A ship has its own shoot, strike, defend attributes. All other actions are rolled from a Wayfarer soul array. So this all depends on what your role is. So if you're the engineer, you have body and defend. That means you can repair the ship, which costs 1 action. If you critically succeed, that's protected. If you critically fail, that's vulnerable. Defend, you use the ship's defend die to defend against any attacks. The navigator over here rolls control to move the ship. That's 1 action. Moving the ship costs 1 action. You roll your control die whenever there's a harmful setting, such as a peril throughout the sea. Failure inflicts stress to the ship's hull, equivalent to the difference between the rolls, while a success allows you to potentially move forward unimpeded. And now regarding boarding rules, let's say you're trying to board a ship. This enables boarding in the next round. You can also roll your mind. And again, roll against the dread die to assess the ship's situational readiness. Success leaves the ship bolstered, while failure leaves it shaken. Gunner, you're striking. To shoot at cannons, they got to be close. to strike and use your crossbolts that is nearby. No strike or shoot action can be performed if the ship is engaged with an enemy. That means you are trying to board. Now, diplomacy, lead diplomacy checks to interact with the ship. Success, you can create, this is for the captain. Success, you can communicate with open communication channels for negotiation with another ship, while failure raises suspicion or tension, potentially leading to hostile action. That's all within the situation of the scene. Now the captain rolls their lead or their die or their spirit die. So lead exemplifies the your ability to lead within or captain, just be a captain. So you roll your lead versus the dread and grant a bonus equal to the difference in roll, a bonus or a penalty depending on what you rolled. This lasts for a round. Critical failure, you can give your crew trauma. Now for spirit die, this is for morale checks. A success, you give the crew the focus condition, while the failure, you give the crew a distracted condition. So it's still pretty meticulous regarding how to actually perform the naval system. There's a lot of options that are specific to your role. So whenever you do get to naval system, choose your role and focus on your 2 dice that are presented to you. Now, moving forward, combat rules. Wayfarers always go first. Each Wayfarer has 1 action to perform, while opponents have 2 actions, move or attack. You'll see a lot of the how it's written grants is reminiscent of the information that you see over here. So for this, at least this is the most the newer item for the rule system, the naval system. If you're close, any strike against you or an enemy is -1 to your defend. -1 +1. If you're nearby, your shoot from the shoot from ship is +1. Far, your defend is +2, and out of sight, you can't be shot. So your strikes are -1, and you have -1 to defend. Shoot is +1. I'm reading this incorrectly. I am so sorry. So when you're close, you can strike. However, if you're close, you have -1 to your defend. If you're nearby, you can shoot. And you have +1 to your defend. If you're far, you have +2 to your defend rolls, but are out of weapon range. And if you're out of sight, you can't be shot. Ships are beyond visual range. Here's an example. The non-combat rules. Each character rule can contribute in both combat and non-combat situations. For example, the gunner might use their weapons to destroy obstacles in the ship's path, while the navigator could use their knowledge to identify how to flee from a perilous situation. Each player contributes to the difference of the ship's performance and the crew's survival. Stress is a little different. When a ship's stress reaches its threshold, double the defend die, similar to this. Let's say our defend is a d6, stress is 12. The ship's defend die is reduced by a step, and the crew incurs 1 trauma. A ship becomes wrecked if its defend is reduced below a d4. So let's say if your ship is a defend d4, so it has 8 stress and it's reduced to 0, it is wrecked. That means inoperable, you're on the sea, and you're probably taken as prisoners. Here are the ships and their stats: skiff, transport, frigate, cruiser, battleship, and carrier, and some upgrades. Something that needs, oh, here they are. I was looking for the cost. This is the cost, 3,000 credits and 15 path tokens to build. And here are the crew rank and roll. Crew rank and roll. So you have rookie, experienced, veteran, and elite. Each have path tokens to spend. So if you get an experienced crew, they cost 2,000 and come with 5 path tokens. You can have one experienced ability for 5 path tokens. Or what you can do, or I'm sorry, they cost. Well, here are the rules. I'll just read the rules to you. To train your crew, spend your path tokens on them. Each rank consisting a certain amount of path tokens equals to their trained path token. Each special ability costs 5 path tokens. Example, a rookie comes with 0 path tokens. To train them to the experienced rank, you spend 5 path tokens, granting them the ability to gain a special ability based on the role that they have on your ship. So let's say the rookie is a gunner, and you spend 5 path tokens, because that's the cost to train them to experience, and they are a gunner. So you can spend an additional 5 path tokens to grant them a special ability, and you'll see the special ability here. So gunner and they are experienced, they get the trick shot, and they can reroll 1s on strike and shoot rolls once per combat. Alternatively, you can hire specific NPC crewmates who come with special abilities. So, example, hiring an experienced or an elite captain cost 11,200 credits. That's 8,000 for their initial rank, and then 3,200 for the captain title. That elite captain comes with 15 path tokens to be spent on special abilities. So if you purchase a experienced navigator, they come with 4,200 or their cost is 4,200, and they come with 5 path tokens to be spent on. You don't need to spend additional path tokens to upgrade them. Now, without further ado, let's do a little bit of exploring, specifically exploring the last sea. You'll see, once again, there are a lot of different tables here, but all of them kind of correlate and go down in a certain way to each other. So each province is separated by the last sea. There are in-game 9 different provinces, but within your game, it could be as many as you'd like. To cross to another province, you can either fast forward to a season. So it's spring to harvest, harvest to winter, winter to spring, or bloom rise to starcrest to moonfall, excuse me. Or you can set sail exploring the last sea. The last sea is a 12 by 12 hex grid if you want to have the a physical hex grid before you. A hex zone is about 6 miles in size. Your faction can travel 1 hex zone per phase of day, or 3 zones per day. And what I mean by 1 hex zone per phase of day, you have 3 different phases of a day: dawnlight, dawn, dusk, and starwatch. So morning, afternoon, and night. However, difficult conditions, bad weather, or islands can change the amount of time required to travel. You must rest. Failure to rest incurs +1 trauma. So let's say it's the morning. We have just awakened, scratching our bare ass as we're walking on the hull of the ship. The Other crewmates are up and at 'em, and they are reveling in the morning. Let's roll for morning. Roll d6 for weather each morning. So let's roll that d6. And it's a 6. Let's say it's springtime. Or actually, let's roll for it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We rolled a 4. 1, 2, so 3. It's harvest time. And we are rolling for weather. We rolled a 3. You'll see that the bolded ones are rough weather. This means that we are only able to sail 2 hexes for that day. That's what it is. 2 hex zones for that day. But we rolled a 3. It's a clear and warm morning. Now we are going to roll on our voyage. You see that roll on your voyage table at dawnlight or dawn, which is the morning, and star watch, that's nighttime. Resolve the outcome, then continue your exploration. So it is a clear and warm day. And it's uneventful. Starwatch comes along, and the weather seems to stay the same. We are It's just uneventful. Sun's out, people are trying to fish and catch some food for the evening. And as Starwatch comes along, another uneventful day, and that is day number 1. We sleep. Day number 2, 6. It's overcast this morning. Starwatch 4. Now let's get to something. Yeah, let's get to something interesting. Let's say Starwatch occurs. We spot a shoreline 1 hex zone away. It is Starwatch, so it is nighttime, and we must fall asleep. So we are going to be resting, so that the crew does not take any trauma, because there are potentially no sages out in this potential island that we're going to find. So we are going to rest, and in the morning we are going to go over there. So the morning comes, bloom rise, 3, another clear and warm day. So we spend all of dawnlight moving to the island, and we get there at duskfall. And let's roll for island size. We land on an archipelago, 3 islands broken by a river. So each are 6 hexes, and basically we can spend 2 days here per island. Much like sailing, island travel is broken into 6-mile hex zones. So it's a 12-mile island, 3 12-mile islands. On foot, your party, the faction, can travel 1 hex zone per phase of day. Traveling 3 hex zones per day. So doing the math, that's 2 days here within the first island that we see. If we encounter difficult terrain, like streams, dense jungles, forest, hills, etc., that requires 2 phases of day to traverse, meaning that we can only travel 2 hex zones per day. So we land on the first island. It is a forest island. The ecology here is overgrown, so it's an overgrown forest. And now let's roll for traversal. So we arrived here on duskfall, the afternoon, but we are going to roll anyway. There's been a shift in the weather. So let's roll that. Cool rain. we see that the clear and warm evening afternoon becomes overcast as a light rain begins to drizzle on us. We take stock before we begin traversing, ending our night at Starwatch and resting. So we just traveled one, so we have 5 more hexes to go to explore this island. Traversal. We rolled a 1 mystery. We roll a land encounter. As you see, all of this is basically uh, sequential to the events. So when you land, you roll the size, terrain, the ecology, traversal, roll this. You can continue to roll traversal on each phase of day for something unique to happen, or if you want to allow your characters to rest and breathe, they can use one specific phase of day to do that, and you don't have to roll traversal. That's why I put Dawnlight and Starwatch, so the morning and at night. So traversal, we rolled on a land encounter. Let's roll here. 6. We encounter D6, 6 pirates. All right. So 6 pirates, let's say I try to appease them, but it goes badly. We are going to begin combat. So their dread is a D4, but I'm going to approach them and get engaged with them and strike with them with my flail. So that's a D10 plus 2. And I have 2 actions on my turn. Action or Wayfarers go first on initiative, then enemies. Enemies have 2 actions. Pirates potentially have a sword and a pistol, so they can step away and shoot as they'd like. So we are going to approach one of them and strike at them. So roll that. Do I have advantage on my strike? I do not, but that is okay because that is 3 minus 1. So the first one takes 3, 4, 5. The first one takes 4 stress, and we are going to use our personal flavor to slow down. Let's say we engage this pirate on, basically told them, grab your strongest leader. Nina is going to fight that leader. If we win, you leave us alone. So what Nina is going to do is use her personal flavor to slow down time around that target. So they have 1 action on their turn, and it is their turn. They are going to step away from us. Actually, no, they're not going to do that because that would be an action. So they're going to take their rapier and strike at us. So that's a D4 against our defend of a D6 with advantage D6. Do we have anything else? No. We don't. Okay. And that's okay because we protected that. So advantage roll is a 4 and a 5, so we take the highest roll, which is a 5. The pirate struck at us with a 2, but we caught the rapier with our flail. Back to us, and in that same vein, we are going to strike at them. Actually, let's do something unique. We're going to try to disarm them. So we're going to roll our control. D8 against their dread. And with our flail, we not. Oh, that is a D4. They landed 4 on a 4, so they get to roll again. So we get a 6. They rolled a 5. So unfortunately, they still lose. And we're able to knock their weapon down. And for our next action, we are going to try to convince them. So we'll roll a d6 to stand down, and we succeeded. The main pirate that is against us puts up their hands, and they leave. The night passes by. We are able to sleep, and the next day occurs, and we continue to travel. It's an uneventful morning, an uneventful afternoon, and an uneventful night. And that is day 2, I believe, of this island. So we decided to head back. Uneventful, uneventful. And we are exhausted. Something within the island is making us exhausted, so we do a trauma check. Mind versus dread. Our mind is a d6 against the dread. Say it's not so stressful out here. But we do fail and we incur 1 stress or 1 trauma. That means these are all weakened until we are able to find a sage. But yeah, you'll see that that's basically island exploration. You see the dungeons here. All of them are pretty much again sequential. The entrance constructed, how they're constructed, who were the builders. So if you're trying to have a settlement tell you about their ruin or their dungeon, who built it, why was it built, what's novel about it. Here's some whatchamacallit, table, sorry, tired over here, table on how to stock a dungeon. So roll a d6 for each column to determine the what's in a room. All of it basically uses a d6. Here's a hex example. The black here is the ship to kind of just lay it out how if you want a map in front of you. And then for those that are not or have not seen the previous ones, the Candlekeeper's Requiem to create a province within the within your game for overland travel that is more specific to the province rather than encountering islands. You'll have different opportunities to basically map it out, determine the terrain based on, lo and behold, imagination tables, which are over here. And something unique to the to Beyond the Light is rather than having monster stats at the end of the book, such as Beyond the Obsidian Veil had, you have similar wilderness roles. So you can either place 6 events in a province and label them accordingly. Their placement is determined by a 2d12 roll on a 12 by 12 hex grid. So if you roll, let's roll 2d12, a 5 and a 10, you go across 5, down 10, and place that random event there. Let's say you place those random events and you're traveling on an empty hex zone and you're exploring, you need to roll a wilderness roll. So again, roll a d6. And we rolled a 4. We encounter the hex zone's landmark, otherwise all clear. Let's say there's nothing in here, all clear. Let's roll again, a 3. Encounter the next mystery from the nearest event in the province. So you'll see that we're going to be encountering a mystery. If you don't want to place down specific mysteries by rolling 2d6s to randomly place them, what you can do is for 1 through 3, Any roll from 1 to 3, roll 2d6 to determine what event you hit. And we got 2 and 5, the underworld. For this, you go to the underworld and read the first mystery. This up here are the whispers that you'll hear nomads or sages speaking about the specific event. Let's say that they are knowledgeable about the nearest event out there. They'll typically tell you information based on the whisper here, which is very unhelpful. Otherwise, they'll give you more specific information to better prepare yourself based on the mysteries. But let's say we rolled on the underworld and you read the mystery here. A huge stone archway, former temple. You see the stars here are flicker in the shadows. There's a white raven that caws from the tree. And you see an opening appear in the arch, dark but light at once. Then all is normal. It's strange. It's weird. You have no idea what happened. Supposed to create this mysterious, lo and behold, mysterious situation that is occurring around you. You have no idea what it is, and the whole aspect of these events are to elicit a mysterious situation that is occurring throughout the province. All of these build up to a grander conclusion or culminating event, such as for the underworld, a creeping darkness, then suddenly within the underworld, you are within the underworld, a dark reflection of our own. Without a shrouded guide, the only exit is into a distant realm. So this, as you read this, you can basically tell the party you need to find a shrouded guide. You are in dark reflection of our world. Everything basically looks the same, but more decayed, things like that, to try to build up the situation. And you'll see 2d6 imagination tables for you to roll on. Voices in the dark. So throughout this, if they land on something, what you could say here in the huge stone archway, they hear singing from the lights, and you see a vision of the underworld. This flash of decay around where the trees are, and this white raven as it caws from the tree. You see it at once, decayed and broken, things like that. It's flavorful. You can play around with it. But that is basically Beyond the Light. It's a lot of flavor, a lot of wonderful random rolls with a simplistic enough attribute system, the mat system, that still gives you enough of variability should you wish to perform more complex maneuvers, such as what I did with control in taking away a person's that pirate's weapon, or using spirit to scare them away. Yeah, this is coming out officially on in January, so be on the lookout for that. But thank you for joining me and watching the mat system being used within Beyond the Light. Have a wonderful night. Take care, Wayfarers.